Hello and welcome everyone for the English video session. Today in this video we are going to cover new lesson, that is discovering touch. The saga continues. It is written by A.R. Williams. Actually, touch is a name, short name in fact. You might have heard about the famous mummy of Tutankhamen, and this lesson tells us more about that mummy, Tutankhamen. The lesson is no doubt going to be an interesting study to all of us. We are going to learn some scientific things or the findings related to King Tut. Before we proceed further in the lesson, let us study some new words, so that when we go for the reading of this particular lesson, understanding will become quite easy if we are quite aware about this new word. First word you will come across, that is stirred. Stirred means to move or cause to move something slightly. Ghostly, you people are already aware about this one. Eerie or unnatural or unreal. Resting place, here it means the grave. Cemetery, a large burial ground. Dark ballad, here it is used in the lesson in the context of the cloud. But dark ballad means dark in color, extremely dark in color. Scudded across means moving quickly. It refers to the movement of a dark veiled clouds. Veiling, it means to cover something. Casket, a small ornamental box or chest of holding jewels, letters, or other valued object. Casket gray, it means that a gray cloud were like a gray color casket which contain the stars. The stars are like jewels which are kept in the casket. So the author has also used some metaphors to make some comparison. Glided here means quiet, continuous motion. Probe means to investigate or find out something. Lingering, long-lasting, descended, moved or gathered. Cramped, you can take it in the context of congested, very small to fit into. Rock cut, made in a rock by cutting it. Gazed, to look in surprise or in admiration. You will come across a new word, that is murals. Murals means a painting or the other artwork executed directly on the wall. Gilded means covered with a thin sheet or coating of gold. Striking, here it means prominent in the lesson. Whisper, to speak in very low voice. Pondering, think about something very carefully. If we keep these words in mind, then probably our reading is going to be much more easier. If you have seen some discovery program or history program, there they generally show programs related to mummy. Recently, one mummy case became the town of talk, that was a Tutankhamun's mummy. Many superstitious beliefs are there related to this mummy. Some people believe that whoever is involved in the findings of Tutankhamun's mummy, or whoever had done further discovery on his mummy, they had died a very horrible death. I do not agree with the superstitious things, but it might be a coincidence, and that's why this particular mummy had become quite talk of a town. But nothing related to the superstitious things we are going to study in this particular lesson. But let us see what are the findings done on Tutankhamun's mummy. We will generally go through his short name here, Tut, and generally there in the lesson also everywhere you'll find the short name Tut. Other than that, we'll also find some of the discoveries or what was the scientific belief or what conclusion they had come from after studying his mummy. Here in the beginning, it is clearly mentioned that he was a teenager when he died. When scientists did a study about Tut's mummy, they had come to know about his age. Actually, this Tutankhamun, that means Tut, it was found out by scientists that he died at very early age. They believe, scientists believe that that was now not an ordinary mummy. It was a mummy of a king. Why it was so? Because the place from where they had found out mummy, it was a King's Valley. Since it was a King's Valley in those days, not common man's dead body was allowed to be buried in the King's Valley. So from that, they had come to conclusion that since this particular mummy was found out among the dead king's mummy, he might be a king or he might be one of the ancestors of the king's family. It is written here the last heir of powerful family that had ruled Egypt and its empire for centuries. His forefather, they were kings in Egypt, but they came to the conclusion that Tut was the last heir. After the Tut's death, there was nobody remained who could rule Egypt, or probably the dynasty might have changed. So that's why scientists came to know that Tut was the last heir of the king's family. In those days, king's mummies were not buried in ordinary way. They used to keep some expensive ornaments. All the daily needed things used to be kept with mummy, because in Egypt, it was believed by them that a person dies, but even if he dies after his death also, he remains alive. So many things with his mummy were kept, like water, sofa, chair, and various other daily needs were kept, because according to their superstition, a superstitious belief, in fact, you can say that they used to believe that even the person dies, after that also he remains awake. So he was buried there with so many golden things. First time they found out Tut's mummy in 1922. Since the discovery of his tomb in 1922, the modern world has speculated about what had happened to him. As I told you before, that this Tut was always remained the talk of town. Many people were curious enough to know about his death, to know about his lifespan, to know about what type of life he might have led. Very soon, a movie is also going to come on this particular character, Tut. Hollywood movie is likely to come in this July, and probably in the theater you will see a movie related to Tut. Many people speculated about his life. They thought that since he died very early age, uh, from the scientific facts, they had come to the conclusion that he died very early age. It was not a natural death. अब देखो, जो ये किंग चच है वो यूथ में ही मर गया। आई मीन्स अपनी जवानी में ही उसकी मृत्यु हो गई। जनरली जवानी में किसी की नेचुरल डेथ नहीं होती। इनफैक्ट जवानी भी यू कैन नॉट से he was simply like a teenager. Since he was like a teenager, इतनी एज में नेचुरल डेथ नहीं होती। तो लोगों ने ये अनुमान लगाया था कि शायद उसका मर्डर भी किया गया हो, किसी ने उसका खून कर दिया हो, लेकिन they have not come out to any exact conclusion. Now living his tomb for the first time in almost 8 years, Tut has undergone a CT scan that offers new clues about his life and death. Now, his mummy was found out in 1922. After his mummy had been found out, they had kept it in museum because in those days there was not a modern instrument which could study about his mummy. उस समय में इतने वैज्ञानिक संसाधन नहीं थे, तो उसकी वजह से उसके पर उस समय में स्टडी करना डिफिकल्ट था। लेकिन आफ्टर 80 years science has developed a lot. So after 80 years they wanted to do some findings, उसके ऊपर रिसर्च करना चाहते थे। इसलिए 80 years के बाद उसकी बॉडी का प्रॉपर सीटी स्कैन किया गया to find about some clues about his life and death. Here, CT scan that offers new clues about his life and death and provides precise data for an accurate forensic reconstruction of the boy's pharaoh. This king Tut was very small. That's why the word boys is used. Generally in Egypt, all the kings were known by the name Pharaoh. In fact, you can say that in their Egyptian language, kings are called Pharaoh. Then narrator tells us about the atmosphere when the body was taken for the CT scan. It was a night time. Atmosphere was absolutely dark. In fact, dark clouds were moving around. It was 6 p.m. on 5th January 2005. So you can imagine that mummy was found out in 1922, and further detailed study was done on him in 2005. So बहुत बड़े लंबे अंतराल के बाद उस मम्मी के ऊपर डिटेल स्टडी होने जा रही थी। In fact, since 1992, after the mummy had been found out, this Tut's mummy had always remained the talk of town. People were speculating, imagining so many things about him. So when this mummy was taken for the CT scan and all, many people were curious enough to know about his life and history. The mummy was put in the CT scanner to search about what would be the thing related to his life or what might have happened to his body at so early age. They had come to the conclusion about his years that he might have lived some 3,300 years ago. Unbelievable now, 3,300 years ago. These Egyptians had found out certain scientific method, I mean more than a scientific method, method, in fact, to find out so that the body can be preserved for the long time. इजिप्शियन लोगों के पास उस जमाने में ऐसे इंग्रेडिएंट्स थे, ऐसा मटेरियल था, इनफैक्ट ऐसे स्पाइसेस थे कि जिसकी वजह से वंस इट इज अप्लाई टू द डेड बॉडी, एक बार उसे डेड बॉडी में अप्लाई कर दिया जाए तो दे कैन प्रिवेंट द बॉडी फ्रॉम डिकेइंग. तो आज का साइंस नो डाउट बहुत आगे चला गया है, लेकिन you cannot call those people even illiterate. They had found out so many things. ऐसी स्पाइसेस उन्होंने ढूंढ ली थी कि जिसकी वजह से 3000 साल से ज्यादा तक समय तक वो मम्मी सड़ ना सके. So that is something extraordinary, you can say. Then it is mentioned here that many tourists had visited that particular place. In fact, it is called the King's Valley, where mummies were kept, I mean, by the ancient Egyptians. There is a particular place in the cemetery, I mean, created for the kings only, where all the kings were buried. वहां पे ऐसी सिस्टम बनाई गई थी इजिप्शियन लोगों के द्वारा कि सभी किंग को एक ही जगह पे दफनाया जाता था और कॉमन लोगों को कोई और जगह पे दफनाया जाता था. So when they had found out that many kings were buried there, many visitors used to visit those tombs, especially King Tut's tomb. All afternoon, the line of tourists from around the world had descended into the cramped rock-cut tomb, some 20 feet underground, to pay their respect. बहुत सारे लोग ये सब देखने के लिए इकट्ठा हुए थे. They looked at the walls and the various decorations around the walls and the scenery over there. And where the mummy was kept, the coffin box and everything, all the visitors were looking at it very curiously. अब देखो लेसन में in between कुछ अंतराल आता रहता है. Here in the beginning we are told about the king's life, Tut's life, then when his mummy was found out and all. Here in the next paragraph, the narrator takes us when the mummy was taken in the CT scanner, and here the narrator takes us or tells us how the various peoples are curious enough to know about king's life and all. Many were gossiping there, whispering there, speaking very silently there. अब जब ये लोग किंग्स वैली में गए तब बहुत क्यूरियसली स्टडी कर रहे थे और चिंता में भी थे वो लोग. Why in worry? Because they believed in certain superstitious thing. वो कुछ सुपरस्टिशियस चीजों में बिलीव करते थे. वो मानते थे कि अगर हम ज्यादा आवाज से बात करने लगेंगे तो ये जो मम्मी है आसपास में जो दूसरे किंग को दफनाया गया है वहां से हमको श्राप मिलेगा. The kings will become angry and the curse of the pharaoh will fall upon us. So keeping this reason in mind, all the people there were talking with very low voice. Now, before we proceed further, let us have a look at few other words. Here, futile means pointless. Hastily means something very fast or swiftly. Ransacked, raid or go through a place to steal or damage something. Antiquity, age or oldness. Resurrection, restoration to life. Afterlife, life after death. Funerary treasures, the valuable things with which the king was buried. Three-nested coffin, three coffin placed on one in another in order of decreasing size. The innermost coffin houses the body of the deceased. Deceased here means dead. Shroud, a length of cloth in which a dead person is wrapped. Adorn, decorated. Garland of willow, a wreath of flowers or and leaves. You can say it in the context of heart. Mummy, we all know it is the dead body of human being or animal that has been ceremonially preserved by removal of the integral organs. Rituals here mean the resin used in the ceremony of mummification. Resin, a sticky substance, flammable substance that is insoluble in water, and legitimate means reasonable. Let us go through the next reading. The mummy is in very bad condition because of what Carter did in the 1920s, said Jahi Hawass, Secretary General of Egypt's Supreme Council of Antiquities, as he leaned over the body for the long first look. Now, this is very important to understand from your point of view. अब देखो, Jahi Hawass was Secretary General of Egypt. You can say in the context that he was in charge authority of antiquities. जो भी प्रेसियस चीजें थी इजिप्ट की, उस सब का वो सेक्रेटरी जनरल था, जाही हवास. Now he blamed another person, that is Carter. जाही हवास ने कार्टर को ब्लेम किया कि ये मम्मी अभी बैड हालत में है. Dutch mummy was in bad condition because Howard did something, Carter did something wrong with the money. अब Carter ने क्या किया था, that we will come to know in the next paragraph, I mean next content here. As he leaned over the body, Carter, his full name is Howard Carter, that is, was the British archaeologist who in 1922 discovered Dutch tomb after years of futile searching. Howard Carter was an archaeologist. What is the work of archaeologists? They dig out the earth or do some findings on the past things. पुरानी चीजें ढूंढ निकालने का, जमीन के गर्भ में से वो नई स्टडी करते रहते हैं आर्कियोलॉजिस्ट. So this mummy of Tut was found out by this Howard Carter. वो Howard Carter ने ढूंढा था उसको. After that he did many study on him also. अब 1922 के दशक में उतना साइंस डेवलप नहीं था, जैसे हमने पहले भी बात कर ली थी ऐसे. और जिस कंडीशन में वो मम्मी पाया गया था, इट वाज नॉट इन अ गुड कंडीशन. उस मम्मी के कुछ लिम्स मिसिंग थे अकॉर्डिंग टू द साइंटिस्ट. और उसके अलावा हावर्ड कार्टर के पास दूसरा भी एक प्रॉब्लम आया था कि जो ममी था, it was found out in 3 nested coffin, यानी एक कॉफिन के अंदर दूसरा कॉफिन, तीसरा कॉफिन, ऐसे बहुत सारे लेयर्स बने हुए थे। And the mummy was stuck inside with the coffin. क्या किया गया था कि इजिप्शियन पीपल वर वेरी स्मार्ट पीपल, वो मम्मी के साथ कुछ प्रीशियस थिंग्स रखा करते थे, जैसे कि गोल्डन ज्वेलरी एंड ऑल। तो जब भी कहीं पे भी मम्मी को बरी किया जाता था, तो वहां पे चोर और लुटारू लोग आके वो गोल्डन ज्वेलरी पाने के लिए ही उस मम्मी के साथ छेड़छाड़ किया करते थे, मम्मी को बाहर निकाल लेते थे पुराने जमाने। तो इजिप्शियन लोगों ने क्या किया कि एक स्टिकी सब्सटेंस लिया जिसका नाम है रेजिन। रेजिन एक स्टिकी सब्सटेंस है। पहले तो कॉफिन बॉक्स के लेयर में वो स्टिकी सब्सटेंस रेजिन को डाला गया, जस्ट लाइक यू कैन से फेविक्विक और फेविस्टिक। वो स्टिकी लिक्विड सब्सटेंस होता है, एक बार उसको हवा के कांटेक्ट में आ जाने के बाद वो हार्ड हो जाता है। ऐसे ही रेजिन जैसा सब्सटेंस था उनके पास, तो उन्होंने पहले तो कॉफिन बॉक्स में वो उसको स्प्रे किया, यू कैन से स्कैटर द रेजिन। उसके बाद उन्होंने मम्मी को अंदर रखा, यानी कि वो मम्मी रेजिन की वजह से कॉफिन के साथ स्टक हो जाए, फिक्स हो जाए, और कोई भी पर्सन उस मम्मी को निकाल ना सके। अब हावर्ड कार्टर के लिए प्रॉब्लम क्या था, उन्होंने मम्मी तो ढूंढ ली, लेकिन मम्मी को अब कॉफिन में से बाहर निकालना, और वो रेजिन की वजह से वो उसको निकाल नहीं रहे थे। अगर जोर से निकालने का ट्राई करेंगे तो क्या होगा, certain limbs of the mummy will be broken further. So these are the difficulty Howard Carter also faced. We will come to know about it as we go with the reading. आर्कियोलॉजिस्ट की पूरी जिंदगी ऐसे ही चली जाती है कि वो पुरानी चीजों को खंगालने में लगा करते हैं, और कुछ आर्कियोलॉजिस्ट को लाइफ ऐसी हो जाती है, पूरी जिंदगी कुछ ना कुछ ढूंढते रहते हैं जमीनों के अंदर, फिर भी उनको कुछ नहीं मिलता। तो दिस इज व्हाट इट इज सेज दैट सम ऑफ द आर्कियोलॉजिस्ट लाइफ may be passed in simply finding out ordinary things, but Howard Carter was quite lucky. वो लकी थे कि उनको एक प्रेशियस थिंग मिली, दैट इज द मम्मी ऑफ टट। Tut was buried with so many expensive things, golden things, as other than that, board games, a bronze razor, linen undergarments, and various other precious things were kept with his mummy. उनका मानना था कि अगर भले ही तट मर गया है, इजिप्शियन लोगों का मानना था, लेकिन वो रात को रिजरेक्ट होगा। दे बिलीव इन द रिजरेक्शन। रिजरेक्शन का मतलब क्या होता है कि एक बार कोई आदमी मर जाए और मृत अवस्था में से वो जिंदा उठ जाए, उसको रिजरेक्शन बोलते हैं। जैसे क्रिश्चियन लोग जीसस क्राइस्ट के लिए ये टर्म यूज करते हैं, रिजरेक्शन। In pure Gujarati, you can say punruthan. In a simple words, that a person becomes alive out of dead body. एक बार मरने के बाद वो शरीर समेत वो जिंदा हो जाता है। So, in the context of Jesus Christ, this particular term resurrection is used. लेकिन ये लोग ऐसा मानते थे कि भले ही ये किंग तक मर गया है, फिर भी वो एक दिन जिंदा होगा, या फिर whenever he will wake up at night time, he will need so many things, और उसकी वजह से जो भी प्रीशियस चीजें और उसके काम की चीजें होती थी, वो इजिप्शियन लोग उसके साथ रखा करते थे। This Howard Carter had found out various other things with the mummy. He had found out a shroud, kapan, you can say, adorned with the garlands of willow and olive leaves. Celery was also there, lotus petals and cornflowers. So बहुत सारी चीजें मम्मी के साथ उसको मिली थी. Since lotus flower and cornflower and all, it was found out and it was believed that this particular thing, lotus petals and cornflowers and all, that was found generally in Egypt in the month of March and April. So they had come to the conclusion कि शायद ये तट की मृत्यु भी उस समय में हुई होगी, मार्च और अप्रैल के मंथ में. अब जैसे मैंने बताया था कि उन्होंने बहुत ट्रिकी तरह से ममीफिकेशन किया था, यानी पहले तो उसको कॉफिन बॉक्स में इनर मोस्ट लेयर में पहले उन्होंने रेजिन डाला था. रेजिन डालने के बाद फिर उन्होंने डेड मम्मी को रखा था, यानी मम्मी और कॉफिन बॉक्स एक दूसरे के साथ स्टिकी सब्सटेंस की वजह से जुड़ चुके थे और उसकी वजह से इट वाज हार्ड फॉर हावर्ड कार्टर टू टेक आउट मम्मी फ्रॉम द कॉफिन बॉक्स. Even if he was giving a great force, then also it was hard for him to bring out mummy from the coffin box. So when Howard Carter faced this sort of difficulty, he wrote a letter to the concerned authority कि अब वो मम्मी को बाहर निकाल नहीं पा रहा था, तो अब उसका क्या करे. What he does further, we are going to cover this particular thing in the next video. Meanwhile, what I want you that whatever I had discussed about this touch, discovering the touch, the saga continues till now here. You also read at home, revise the lesson so that your understanding will develop more. See you in the next video. We are going to carry this lesson further in the next video. Till then, it's goodbye from me. Have a good day ahead.